So you've decided to hire a home care company. But what questions do I ask? Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle Bossing, and I am the president and co-founder of Senior One Care Home Care Services. And today we are going to talk about some of the top questions you should ask when searching for home care companies. One of the first things you're going to want to do is find out if the home care company you're working with is licensed. You'd be surprised how many agencies are out there operating and they're not even licensed. So you can find this by going out to a state website to learn more about which agencies in your specific area are licensed. When you're working with a licensed home care company, each state has different requirements that they expect those licensed agencies to go through. And so when you are working with one of those agencies, there is a long list of things that that company had to do ahead of time to make sure that they're adhering to what the license is. When you're working with a company that isn't licensed, well, then you're at much higher risk. The next question you're going to want to ask is whether or not the agency is bonded and insured. Now, this helps on a multitude of reasons, but primarily, if you work with someone independently and hire someone privately, a lot of those individuals aren't necessarily insured. And so if something happens with an unforeseen situation, such as a theft or a fall while they're out visiting with your loved one, well, then likely you're going to be on the hook for that. Or when you are working with a home care company that's bonded and insured, well, they work with insurance carriers that help protect you. And so that's very, very important when selecting a home care company. One of the next questions you're going to want to ask is, do you train your caregivers? And this seems very simple, but if an agency is not going through the necessary precautions to train their people, well, your loved one is going to be at risk. And so making sure that they have at least mandatory training for all new staff before they go out and visit with your loved one, and ask them specific questions about what that training entails. For example, with Senior One Care, a lot of the caregivers that go through our training, they go through a CNA training school. We also have another training exercise for virtual reality training. So there's a lot of different elements to what a good training session looks like, but make sure you're asking those right questions to find out specifically what do they do. Another reason why training is important is the person knows what they're supposed to be doing when they're out helping your loved one. And so they're better trained, they're more knowledgeable, they're more understanding of some of the ailments and diseases that your loved one may face, and that provides a safer environment for your loved one. One of the key questions that you should ask a home care company is whether or not they do background checks. And this could be done in a variety of ways, but unfortunately, in this business, you could find individuals that do have a track record in their past. And so making sure that they go through the necessary background checks could make sure that when they are visiting with your loved one, that nothing bad is going to happen and that you have a nice, reliable person inside of that home environment. Another question to ask is, do you match your caregivers with the specific clients that they interact with? And I think this is very, very important. We see it firsthand when we're working with our clients. We want to make sure that we have a team of committed individuals that are out helping the people that we're helping. We want to make sure that we have a team of individuals that are familiar with the individual's care. And if you have familiarity and you have the same consistency in people coming out and helping you on a weekly or a daily basis, that helps with the continuity of care and it helps for a better experience for your loved one. One other question to ask is, how long have you been serving your community? And again, it may seem simple, but other agencies that just started and are getting off the ground, they may not have that reputation established just quite yet. And so you want to make sure that you have an agency that's established, credible, they've made a name for themselves in the community, and that will help make sure that you have the right service for your loved one. And one of the last questions that you're going to want to find out is, what makes you different from other home care companies? And from personal experience, this is one of the most common questions we get when families are inquiring about our services. And really, to us, this means, what makes you different than all of the other providers, not only in your area, but across the state, across the country? And so you want to find those things where you can say something that a competitor can't say. So when you're asking the question, what makes you different? What makes them different? What specifically makes them different from some of the other home care companies out there? For us, we use the fact that we have our very own CNA training school. There's not a lot of other home care companies that can say that. We train our CNAs, and most of the caregivers go through that specific training class. One of the things we do that's a little bit different than some of the other agencies is we have our caregivers go through background checks, and we also do drug testing through hair follicle. This is different than some of the other home care companies that are out there as well. And the hair follicle goes back a lot farther than your typical urine drug test, assuming that they do that. So make sure that you're finding out what those differences are, and it'd be interesting to find out what they are. At the end of the day, finding those unique differentiating factors between the home care companies that you're selecting are going to make a world of difference when you're selecting care for your loved one. So make sure you do your due diligence and find that right home care company. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Senior One Care and what makes us different as a home care company, be sure to check out our website at senior1care.com to learn more about how we can help.